Okay, so I wanted to do a tier list. I haven't done one in a while. I think it's been like 3 or 4 years, and the last one I did was on consoles only. So now that I've been playing roughly around 1,000 hours on PC, and I also have like 2,000 hours on console, I wanted to do another tier list, and just for fun, really, just to put my thoughts and opinions in the mix. This is purely just my opinion. There's no facts. Everybody has a different playstyle. Everybody has a different opinion on killers. That's fine. I love to talk about it. I love DBD. We can have discussions on it, and that's what this is for. There might be a few hot takes here and there, and that's fine. I mean, you don't have to agree with me. It is what it is. I wanted to go over the brackets. I feel like in order to accurately portray the killer's power, I needed to add pluses to it. So I have an S plus and then I have an A plus bracket, so that I don't have like 10, 15 killers in one bracket or something. If that comes to that, I just wanted to balance it out a little bit more. Also, these killers listings will be based on like full potential. A lot of people make their tier list on base powers. I don't think that's something that I don't like that personally. I don't think that's something you should do. But I mean, to each their own. Uh, this is gonna be based on like not exactly like having Ares everything, but like at least having powerful perks and add-ons, strong builds, and facing somewhat decent players, or even just like normal players. Like this isn't based around like comp or anything or any kind of like serious play. It's more of like I want to put on the best perks and add-ons, and I just want to stomp pubs. This is what you get. So we start off with Trapper. Trapper is D tier. What can we say about Trapper? I mean, you just run around, you disarm his traps, and he's powerless, right? He starts the trial. He has what, two traps he starts with. Then he has to walk around collecting his power. He's just not very good. He's just a basic M1 killer. Has nothing going for him. He will be higher than a couple other killers. He's not exactly the worst killer in the game because he can snowball a match. It takes one mistake, one really bad mistake, and the survivors will be fucked. So you really have to keep that in mind when you're playing against Trapper. Freddy. Freddy's the worst killer in the game. He is D tier. I call D tier the dog shit tier. He is garbage. There's nothing that he can do that somebody else can't do way better than him. He's a basic M1 killer. He just teleports to generators, and when the generators are done, he can't teleport them to him anymore, making his power useless. His fake pallets, nobody ever falls for that. And his snare is dog shit. Uh, Outside of that, he's the basic M1 killer. He can't snowball a game like Trapper can. So I mean, he's just bad. I mean, the only build that really is really fun with him and it could be really viable is like the generator build with the generator slowdown, like Hunter's Lullaby and Oppression and Overcharge and stuff. But even good players, like they're gonna hit the skill checks when you pop stuff. It's like it's not really gonna affect them too much. And then your Hunter's Lullaby gets cleansed, and then you have nothing. So it's like it works against like medium to small teams, like in terms of skill, but like the higher end teams and players will still shit on you really hard, no matter what you're running. Pig, I think Pig is C. I want to put her in D. I really do, but I think she's C. Her head popping ability is kind of shit. Like nobody really dies to head pops. Like it happens every now and then. I've had it happen like a few times when I was playing Survivor and Killer. Like my teammates would die to something like that. It's really just based on RNG. She can be super oppressive if you have head traps and she takes you off of the jigsaw boxes and then chases you and she just won't let you get it off. But she gets gen rush really easy. She's a basic M1 killer, has nothing going for her. Her ambush sucks. It might be like kind of hard to fake the ambush on certain loops, like really small ones, because you can easily get ambushes off on those. But good survivors are just hold W. Like the moment you go into crouch, she's just on hold W. And she has the worst stealth power in the game. She's so slow, it's not even worth using half the time. Clown for me, I want to put him in B. I think he deserves like an A minus, but I don't have minuses, so I'm not gonna put him there. I'm just gonna put him in B. Clown has a really strong anti-loop. He's a really powerful 1v1 character. His invigoration, if you're using the right add-ons, you can make it so fast. I think it's like 15% or something. Obnoxious. So use that with the purple bottles, the intoxication, and like you just shut down loops completely. You are so quick. His 1v1 potential is insane. But outside of that, he doesn't have too much going for him. I mean, he is limited to 6 bottles, which has got buffed, so it's 6 now, which is good. It's a good place to be. But I feel like between switching between the yellow and purple bottles, he still goes through bottles really fast, and then reloading is slow, unless you bring an add-on. So, which I would never use that add-on. I would always use the ones that make you faster, um, or at least the ones that make them slower in bigger clouds. Or he has variations, but outside of that, yeah, he's not very strong at map pressure, but really strong loot potential. Spirit is going to be our first S plus. So when I went to this, I wanted to do at least 4 S pluses and 4 S's. So keep that in mind. She is on the lower end of S plus. She's going to be the third, not third. She's going to be the fourth one. I'm just going to say that now. Spirit, I'm a little biased with her because she's my main. I am working on getting my P100 Spirit right now. I love her to death. She's great. She is so punishing. Very much like Clown, she has insane punishing potential on loops. She has an insane 1v1. Like, you can't get away from her. It's impossible. Everything is going to be 50-50, and if you hit your 50-50s and win them, like, you're just going to shit on everybody. And with the recently buffed genetic limits, and you use that, like, Iron Will no matter counts for her. Like, it doesn't bother her anymore. So she hits somebody, and it makes them exhausted for 8 seconds or whatever, and then you just immediately get back on top of them with your power, and their Iron Will is just countered. Because Iron Will does not work with exhaustion, and genetic limits accounts as exhaustion with that, so it's pretty dirty. And even before that, she was still super strong. But with genetic limits, she's fantastic. I absolutely love playing her. Legion is going to be C. I'm going to put him ahead of Pig because he can use a really nice build with the Thanatophobia and Dying Light, and you can have a pretty nasty slowdown. You just constantly in your power, and you're just hitting people with Feral Frenzy over and over again. I think there's an add-on where you make them broken, which helps with the slowdown, and everybody's broken Thanatophobia like crazy. Like I said, you get Dying Light to hook people. It's a really nasty build. Getting like more than 2 survivors maybe sometimes with Feral Frenzy, sorry. Getting more than 2 survivors is kind of difficult unless you're just facing a really bad team or you get really lucky, because people, when they see Legion, the first thing they do is spread out, right? At least good people. They'll immediately spread out and they'll hold W across the map, and you'll hit one person, and by the time you run back to another person, they're already like too far, right? So it's like you don't get too much value out of his power, but I mean, in certain situations, you can get a nice like 3-piece or 4-piece with Feral Frenzy, and those always feel great. But outside of that, he's a basic M1 killer. Nothing really going for him. I do like running I think it's the Airy add-on, where if you volt a pallet in his power, it breaks it, which is fantastic. Just for that power alone, I kind of want to move him to B, but I'm going to leave him to C. I think it's disingenuous to give him B over one add-on. Plague, our first S killer. She's going to be one of the S tiers. Super strong. Survivors really only have like a couple things to do against her, so they can just stay injured the whole game, and then obviously you're just an M1 killer, you get no power, and that weakens her a little bit, but like at the end of the day, you're still all injured, so all she has to do is hit you once, right? One mind game, whatever, it's over. Or you can just walk around cleansing on all the corruption off of you, but then you're going to give her limited power, and she's going to just be devastating. Like, she's going to destroy the whole team with her power. So it's really a 50-50 on what you want to do. But regardless, she's still so powerful. I love playing Plague. Ghostface is going to be C. I think Ghostface is better than Pig, because you can mark survivors, especially if you're good, and you get the insta-down potential. Also, you can sneak up on somebody at the start of the game, which is always nice, and maybe get a grab off of a generator. That's always great, right? I mean, I guess you could do that with Pig too, but her stealth is ass. But the thing about Ghostface is his power is kind of bugged, so like sometimes you can see him and sometimes you can't, like get him out of the stealth. Just for that alone, I kind of want to move him up, because that's like a buff to him, right? Because like, so I swear sometimes you really stare directly at him with your character model and nothing happens, and he just marks you from like 0 to 100 in 2 seconds, and it's like, what the fuck happened? But outside of that, he's just a basic M1 killer. He doesn't really have nothing going for him. You get a good mark on somebody and catch him out of position, you get an insta down. That's always nice, which is why he's in C and not D. But outside of that, he's just a basic M1 killer, like I said. Demo, I'm going to put Demo in B. I'm going to put him right behind Clown. I think Clown's actually better than Demo. that might be a hot take, but I do believe that. Um, Demo is where he needs to be in B tier, which is like okay, nothing really spectacular, right? He has a portals that he can go through and traverse the map with, but it's one of the weaker ones that can be cleansed. Um, he has his long range attack, his lunge, right, and that's nice for anti loop, but outside of that, he's the basic M1 killer. You know, he lunges, it breaks pallets. Yeah, you can do some mind games with him, sure, but like I wouldn't put him above Clown, who shuts down loops completely. You know, it has 15% haste. Like you can't beat that. I don't put him above Clown. I just don't. Oni, for me, Oni's gonna be A. I kind of wanted to put Oni a little higher, but I feel like in order for Oni to be high, like A plus or maybe even S, you need to be like a really really good Oni, like top 1% Oni players, like right, like you need to have really high like flick sensitivity and stuff in order to make his power actually strong. Even when like really good Onis like P100s, I watch videos of them and like sometimes they just completely whiff their power, and I like it just happens, right? You're doing the dash and you go to like do a one, you know, not a 180, but like a 90-degree angle when you go to flick, and you just miss, right? You just hit a tire pack, you hit a tree, you hit the window, you hit whatever, you don't hit the survivor, and stuff like that can really hurt him and hurt his momentum. The reason why I have him in A though overall and not like lower than that, which I would never put him lower than that, but it's just because of snowball potential. Because when you do actually hit your power, you can absolutely destroy a team. Like you can go from like no hooks to everybody on the floor slugged in like 0 to 100 seconds, right? Like just like that, 0 to 60, whatever the thing's called, but just like that, right? But outside of that, he's a basic M1 killer. And he can be easily shut down at the beginning of the game. You just pre-drop pallets and you loop him properly. That always doesn't happen, obviously, because when you play Survivor solo or even with like a duo or a trio, you know your randos might feed blood to him, which always sucks. But even so, like I said, hitting his power is so hit or miss sometimes. Um, I know some people might be like, "Oh, it's really not that difficult. I do it all the time." Well, that's great, but like not just because you do it all the time doesn't mean everybody does it all the time. I see P100s missing their powers on their attacks. Hell, I miss plenty of powers, and I'm not the greatest Oni. You know, I'm a decent Oni, but I'm not the greatest, and I miss my power all the time. It happens. Like you might get one down or something, or it takes forever to get it down. You might miss like 3, 4 lunges, or something, right? So it's like it's just it's hit or miss for me. It's too hit or miss for me to want to put him higher, right? Like when you do hit your attacks in his power, you snowball. He's like up here, but I feel like that's too inconsistent to put him that high. It's just disingenuous. I'd rather just keep him perfectly in A tier. Um, Deathslinger. Deathslinger is gonna be B. I don't think Deathslinger is better than Clown or Demo. He has zero map pressure. He is all about the 1v1. So if you hit your shots, all of them, he might be top of B, but I feel like most people, even really good players, don't really hit all their shots. I mean, it's human. I mean, we're human, right? We're gonna bound to miss some shots. We're not gonna hit everything, right? It happens. Cause like if you miss your shot, they get so much distance on you, right? It's insane how much they can easily loop you. Excuse me. And then like he has no map pressure. He's a 110 killer. He moves super slow. He has nothing going for him other than just the 1v1, which he's really strong at. He's stronger. He's just as strong in a 1v1 as Clown, so he can easily be up here, right? But like I said, if you miss your shots, it is so devastating. If you're not hitting your shots, so because of that randomness of hitting shots, I have to put him below them. Because with Clown, like you can miss a swing, but how often does that happen? It rarely happens, right? You don't really miss swings. It doesn't work like that unless you get 360 or something. But like missing shots is very, very frequent. Happens multiple times a game, even for the best step slingers. It happens. So because of that inconsistency, I'm putting him at B. Wraith is an A. Wraith is solid. I don't think he's better than Oni, but I do think he's solid and deserves A. He is really good at getting rid of resources, especially if you got to run that one add-on that gets 60% to breaking stuff, and then you run that with the 9% movement speed add-on to block windows and stuff, and he is just so good at getting rid of resources. You want to fake your cloak, and at the last possible second break the pallet. It's so good. Good survivors will try to abuse you by going over the pallet over and over again to try to get you to stop doing it. That's usually just a ping thing, so if you're fast enough, you can still break the pallet while they're trying to go back and forth. It's just who has better ping at that moment. And it's a 50-50. Sometimes I just risk it and I just stand there trying to break it. I just spam my keyboard. And more often than not, I'll actually break the pallet even though they're doing it. So there is ways to counter that. Um, but outside of that, he's great. He has great chase potential, great window blocking, great pallet kicking. He's very good at playing like the spread of damage. You put Sloppy Butcher on him and you just like hit a target, and then you go to another target, and then go to another target, and you just spread it. He's really good at that kind of stuff. The hit and run strategy. That's his best strategy, in my opinion. Deathslinger. Oh, that's not Deathslinger. Pyramid Head. Sorry, Executioner. A plus. I think Executioner is super powerful. His shotgun ability is kind of hit or miss. It's really easy to juke, but when it hits, man, that thing slaps. So like looping him is kind of hard because he can do that over the windows and through the pallets and stuff. So you have to be mindful of that. But then again, it's such a slow ability. Most Deathslingers won't even use it half the time. They'll like put the sword in the ground and they'll chase you and like pretend like they're gonna hit you, and then they just take their sword back up and they M1 you, right? It's just the bait. So because of that, that also makes him super strong. He gets free M1s all the time. Um, if you hit your shotgun though, it's super strong and you can snowball the game pretty easily. He's very, very lethal. Uh, Also, one more thing about Pyramid Head too is Resurgence is in the meta right now. Everybody's running Resurgence, and his cages counter that because if you go into a cage, you do not get the Resurgence proc. I just want to note that right now. You do not get Resurgence if you get caged, so that helps. Blight. Blight is S plus, and he is going to be the second best killer in the game. I'm just gonna say that right now. Blight is incredible. He has crazy map pressure. Even after all the nerfs, I don't care what anybody says. He's crazy map pressure, and we'll talk about his counterpart later. But yeah, he's oh man, he's on another level. I would say he's S plus plus, and Spirit's an S plus. Like that's how much of another level he's in. Um, just super powerful. Twins. Twins gonna go to S tier. Twins is right behind Plague, I think. She might. I don't know. Yeah, I gotta put her behind Plague. I think she has potential to be above Plague, but it's very hard to play it that way. Twins is the Slug Queen. They're in King with Victor, obviously, but yeah, they're the Slug King and Queen. Like you put Victor out and you just slug everybody, and it's not fun, man. No one likes facing Twins, and thank God, no one really plays Twins. I'm just gonna say that right now. Thank God, because they're so annoying. Trickster is a B. I think Trickster is actually better than Slinger. Uh, I want to say Trickster is actually better than Demo. I don't think he's better than Clown, but yeah, he's people sleep on Trickster, man. He's really strong. Um, okay, that's disingenuous. I wouldn't say really strong, but like for his tier, like being an average killer, he's strong in an average category. Decent anti-loop, can't punish you. That's why he's getting reworked. He's just not fun to play against, and yeah, I like playing Trickster. I don't think he's very scary. His theme still doesn't really match DBD, but that's just my opinion on it. But I mean, still, regardless, he's still fun to play. Nemesis is A plus for me. I think the buffs to Nemesis were super strong. I don't think he's as strong as Pyramid Head, but he's super strong right now. Um, I like want to say if his zombies were a little bit more, like the AI was better and they're more useful, like he could possibly be up here with the S guys. But because his zombies are kind of like a joke, right? I just can't do that. Uh, but based on his normal power, is super strong. I actually think that his whip is better than Executioner's shotgun ability. But the problem is you need 3 hits in order to down somebody, where he doesn't, right? So it's like because of that reason alone, he's down here. Um, but yeah, he's in a fantastic spot, man. He's one of my favorite killers to play right now, and I would not mind actually playing him all the time and getting him P100. So I'm thinking about after I get Spirit to P100, like who my next killer is, and I haven't decided yet. But he's definitely on that list of killers that I want to P100. Cenobite's a B. I think he's gonna be a top of B. He's better than Clown, but he's not as good as Wraith or to go to A tier. His anti-loop with the chain is pretty decent. It's kind of hard to hit, so survivors can easily juke it unless you're super patient and you're really, really good with it. But even then, you can still miss them, and then it puts you in a kind of a bad spot because they get so much distance on you. Um, his box is decent slowdown. Somebody has to go for it, otherwise they're gonna get the chain hunt, right? Uh, but outside of that, he doesn't really have nothing going for him. Just a basic M1 killer. Doesn't really do anything special. Grab the box, stop the chain hunts, avoid his chains, and it's just M1 fest. Artist is A plus. Thank God nobody really plays her because she's also a one that's like super annoying to play against. I don't think she's as good as these two, but she's definitely up here. Really strong anti-loop with the birds. Um, Good information with the birds too, so she could just toss her birds across the map. If you set up the birds correctly, you can like hit somebody with the bird and then hit them afterwards and injure them. Uh, but yeah, she's probably my least favorite killer to play. Like honestly, like her, maybe Freddy was worse than her. I really don't like playing artist personally. I'm not a fan. I do obviously I have her like I think like P5 or P6 or something because I have every killer at P5 or P6 for the bloody costumes and stuff. It's just, but still, even so, I play her occasionally when I'm just like, hey, let me just play some artists. I haven't played her in a while, and I'll play a game with her, and it reminds me of like, hey, this isn't fun for me. I'm not gonna play her for another month. But to people that do main her, get her P100, that's great. I'm glad you're having fun with her. It's awesome. But she's super strong regardless. I just don't like her. Onryo is actually gonna be, I think about right here. I don't think she's as good as Clown. I know I might get some hate for that one, but I don't think she's good. She's just a basic M1 killer who has a decent teleport to TVs that can be shut down though if they grab tapes. But if she gets some pretty good teleports in, she can be, okay. Outside of that, it's just she has nothing going for her. Actually, I might put her below. No, I'm gonna put her down here. I'm sorry, I have to. She's better than Deathslinger just because she gets around a map a lot faster. Honestly, Deathslinger's biggest problem is map control. It's always gonna be map control with him. Um, and because of that, he's way down here. But now that I think about it, I think Trickster's got way better control of the map and map pressure and anti-loop. So is Demo. She's just a basic M1 killer who can teleport. So I don't think she belongs past these guys. So I apologize for that placing. Put her down here. Um, Dredge. Oh, Dredge is so good, dude. Dredge is so good. He's putting A plus. I think Dredge has the potential to be S. I think people sleep on Dredge, man. He's so good. He's one of my favorite killers. Another one that I'm thinking about P100. So him and Nemesis are on the list of like killers on my P100 100 next. Um, but the only thing that makes Dredge just not S for me, and I have to put him A plus, is the fact that the locker spawns are so inconsistent. Lockers on some maps are amazing. He could feel like S plus sometimes, right? When he got perfect locker spawns, S plus. He's so strong and he's so fun. Um, Second best teleport in the game, and not only that, but it's super fucking fun to use him, dude. Uh, Especially with lethal and barbecue, you just see somebody across the map, you teleport to the locker next to them. It's so fun, and you're just on top of them in 2 seconds. It's so great. But a lot of the maps have really bad locker spawns, and it hurts him. He does have decent anti-loop. People can't hold W when they see you popping it. They will hold W. You just gotta get ready to cancel it. Um, so it's not like the greatest anti-loop, but it's solid. It's solid. You can't sleep on it. It's solid, right? But yeah, he's so hit or miss because of just he's just map dependent. It's not nothing to do with his powers or the way he's played. It's just map dependent. So because of that, he's held back a little bit. Wesker's gonna be A for me, and I'm actually gonna put Wesker above these two. I think Wesker is in a really good spot. I would say he's perfectly balanced. Hitting your dash attacks is pretty easy for most people, but like for really good Weskers, they can like kind of curve them around corners, and it's actually gross. I've seen people do it. I can't play Wesker at that level. I'm pretty good. Like I don't really miss my attacks, so I'm pretty solid with them. But I'm not like a Wesker pro, like a P100 or anything. Like I don't curve corners and shit like that. It's crazy what they do with them. I've seen it. He has potential to be super strong, probably even up here if you're like a really solid one. But like, I'm not gonna put anybody higher than they need to be based on like a handful of people out of the entire community being able to play him at that level. I just don't feel like that's genuine at all to the character. So just because you can play him at an S plus level, there's gonna be like people who main Freddy that can play him as S tier because he's so good for them. Like that's like the three Freddys that main him. I'm not gonna do that because three people out of like millions of people that play can play at that level. I'm just not gonna do that. So I think base Wesker's perfect. I wouldn't touch anything about him. Billy. He's going to be our third best killer in the game, going up to S+, and that might be a hot take, because some people are on this Billy train where they're talking about how he's the second best killer in the game. Maybe if you're like one of the best Billies in the world, you're P100, you have 5,000 hours on Billy only, you're the absolute curve god, then yes, maybe I could see that happening, but for the 99.9% of the rest of the people, he's not going to be. Blight on a base level is so much better than Billy. So much easier to use, so much easier to curve with, so much easier to everything with. And I'm a pretty good Billy. I'm not like a 5,000 hour main Billy, but I can do decent curves. I'm not like curving sharp corners, like doing crazy stunts or anything, but I can curve basic loops and stuff. So I'm not bad with him, and I would say that overall he is S+, and he is the third best killer in the game. Great map traversal, map pressure, insta down. His lethality's nasty with an insta down. Just fantastic overall. Does struggle on a few of the maps, like the indoor maps, like Larry's, Midwich, even RPD. Super annoying map for him. Like just places that you can't like go for long distance snipes, or you can't get around the map fast. It's not really like it hurts him a little bit, but it's not like the end of the world. You just have to adjust your playstyle. You can't really like go for long distance snipes. You can't really put map pressure like you can just like zooming across the map, right? But it's just a different playstyle on those maps. But yeah, I'd say still super strong right now. Knight, I'm gonna put Knight down in C tier. Uh, Knight's gonna be above Pig, but he's super bad right now. His minions just super annoying to the team, but outside of that, he's just a basic M1 killer. He has like great information from the minions, right? You can just launch them across the map on a generator, and then they proc and they start chasing, right? And it gets them off the gen. But outside of that, like there's nothing going for him. That's literally it. It just that's nothing. So Skull Merchant, what did they do to my girl, man? That sucks. I want to put Skull Merchant as the worst killer, but she's not as bad as Freddy. No one's as bad as Freddy. Her scan lines, I'm still mad about the scan lines, dude. Like they could have took away everything else but the scan lines. Why did they make the scan lines from 2 to 1? Like that is the most asinine change ever, because it is so easy to see the one scan line slowly turning around the drone, and anybody can just literally walk through the drone from one side to the other and not give a shit. Like all of the counterplay from her was taken away. And it's just so obnoxious because I actually enjoy playing Skull Merchant. I mean, she's a basic M1 killer, but I actually enjoy the more stealthy approach with her. I like playing her as a stealth killer. It's fun, and I can still kind of do that. But like outside of that and the element of surprise from stealth attacks, she has nothing going for her. Nothing, just M1s, and no haste buffs. Nothing. Like, I can't, man. It hurts. Singularity. I think Singularity is up here. I want to put Singularity in front of Artist. I know, I might be a hard take. It might be a hot take, but Singularity for me is A+. He's super powerful right now. Super strong. You can put up your cameras everywhere and keep a perimeter on check. You can just see where they're at. If you're in chase, you can pop a camera and then look at them real fast and put the blob on them and then teleport to them with the slipstream. Super strong, super lethal with like getting on top of you in 2 seconds. Kind of reminds me of Spirit in a way, who she goes into the phase and she can get on top of you in 2 seconds. He can do the same with slipstreams. Like he sees you, he puts his arm up and he just teleports you to instantly. Like you can't get away from him, right? And then when he's in overdrive mode or whatever, overclock mode, he can kick pallets super fast. He can vault windows super fast. You can't really get away from him. So he is super good in the 1v1, and yeah, he's great. Xenomorph, I want to put Xenomorph in A. Definitely not better than these three, but still pretty strong. Xenomorph's biggest weakness is the turrets, the flame turrets. It's so annoying. Good survivors will loop you around the turrets. They'll set up turrets everywhere on top of you, and then once the turret goes off, you're basically an M1 killer for the remainder until your power recharges or until you go back into the tunnel to gain power faster. Uh, but yeah, I mean, tail whip is super devastating, though, right? Like it's so easy to punish people over vaults. So I kind of get why the flamethrower would take you out of power for so long. But like I said, outside of that, just M1 killer. But when in tail form, absolutely devastating. Better than any of the B's, C's, and D's. Chucky, another S. I think Chucky is actually going to be. Uh, I'm gonna put Chucky ahead of Plague. That might be a hot take, and ahead of Twins. Chucky's super strong. Um, Great anti-loop with slice and dice. He has the stealth with the going into his power. He can stealth around certain areas. You can kind of hear him coming. Like you can hear him his laughter or whatever he does. You can hear his chuckles. So getting like a true stealth out of him is not really what you're gonna do, but he does get the element of surprise, right? Um, Super punishing on certain tiles because he can just slice and dice through them. Like Shaq, for instance, if he hits a nice Shaq around a corner, he can easily slice and dice you. Uh, yeah, he's powerful, man. I really like Chucky. I I personally I don't really like the third person camera. Um, that's just my take on it. I'm not a fan of it. I'd prefer if I played first person Chucky. I know that's weird, but I would. But even so, he's still super strong. I like playing Chucky. The unknown, another S plus or not S plus, sorry S. He's gonna be the fourth S tier. So I'm doing four for S plus, four for S. He's the fourth S. Um, Super strong right now. I don't think I'd put him ahead of these three. So he's probably gonna be the low end of S. He has the best teleport in the game. He's better than Dredge in teleporting, I think. That's just my opinion. You can leave your clones wherever you want to. The only bad part is that they can't be dispelled. But it's an instant teleport. You don't have to like do the flying animation like Dredge, which is super fast with Nightfall. But it's a lot faster now without Nightfall. But still, it's still kind of slow. His is instant. He instant teleports. He does have the range attack with his UVX or whatever, which is fantastic. So it gives him some kind of power that can hit over pallets and stuff, hit over windows. He can do some kind of plays with that. He's not a basic M1 killer. He can damage you outside of M1, which is fantastic. This is what we're looking for high-end killers. Your M1 killers are going to be more on the lower end because they're kind of outdated and clunky, and you're just going to get ran for 5 gens. But people that can punish loops are usually generally the ones that are at top. Vecna's going to be low A tier for me. I put Vecna above Xenomorph. I wouldn't put him above these three though. Uh, Vecna's okay. He's in a pretty good spot, I think. He has a really strong 1v1. Obviously, Mage Hand is really good. If you time it right, survivors can't loop you. Um, but outside of that, he's nothing going for him. His Flight of the Damned can be dodged by just crouching at the last second, unless you use it on like a small hill where like it hits your feet. But that's rare that happens. Outside of that, yeah, he's just a basic M1 killer with Mage Hand. That's it. Dracula. Dracula is going to be A plus. He's the king of A plus, and he's borderline S. I had to make a choice between Dracula and Unknown. Uh, Dracula does have a range attack that can go over pallets and windows and stuff, like kind of like Unknown does. But Unknown's is like a way easier to hit. It's like a big glob, right? Whereas Dracula's is like a really small, narrow, straight line. Um, he also has super strong map traversal. His map pressure is fantastic. His map pressure is up there with Spirits. And the more I think about it, the more I kind of want to make him S. God, I didn't want to break the 4 and 4. I have to. I have to put him in S. I don't think he's better than Unknown, but he's got to be S. I mean, what is there to say? He has everything. Like his dog form gets a it's not the greatest, right? Sometimes you're not even like it's not even worth going into dog form, but it can break pallets faster, I should say. Um, he gets the little sprint bursts from the orbs with the dog form too, or you could just play him just like normal caster build. You just run caster with the flames, and then you just use bat form, like literally caster bat, caster bat, caster bat. Never go dog form, so you can do that. And that's probably the best way to play him. He's super strong that way. But yeah, I mean, using the dog form is always fun. I like using the dog form, so I mean, it's fun. But if I'm sweating, I won't go dog form. But if I'm having fun, I will. But yeah, he's super strong, man. Like I said, he's up there with Spirit in terms of like map control, like when it comes down to phasing and stuff, because they can phase. Like, he phases into the bat form and he flies across the map. His is actually better than Spirit's because he can teleport into bat form to windows and stuff, and he can go from like downstairs to upstairs and upstairs to downstairs like a nurse. So it's pretty nasty. He's got to be S. Speaking of nurse, the best killer in the game, we all know who's coming. We're not gonna dwell on this. I mean, she's the best. She goes through every object in the game. She doesn't play Dead by Daylight. She plays a different game. No one's playing the same game as her. She's the strongest killer in the game. Myers. Myers D tier. He's dog shit. I'm putting him at the top of D tier though because he can't insta kill people with Tombstone. If it wasn't for that, I'd leave him at the bottom. Just the only killer in the game that I can think of that loses his power completely. Like all of his power is gone. Freddy's kind of close because he can't teleport to the generators that are done, but he still has his base power at least, like his slows and stuff. But like, yeah, he loses power. Like his stalk is gone. That's it. He can't stalk anymore, and he's stuck in tier 2. Uh, I think he's getting a rework soon, or at least like something's changed. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, he's pretty dog shit overall. You run Tombstone though, and he could be like up here, like he just insta kills somebody, and it's actually hilarious. But I'm not gonna put him up here because one add-on breaks him. Hag. I want to say for me, Hag is like top of C tier, but I know people would like freak out about that because she does have potential, right? She could be probably an A. I'm not trying to let my personal bias get into the middle of it too, because I know this is like my opinion and my tier list personally, but like I've seen good hags absolutely destroy people, and I just because I don't really like playing her, I can't be dishonest and be like, oh, she's garbage or something, right? So she has potential. She is pretty strong. I don't really play her that much, but I do know she is pretty good. I'm gonna leave her right here behind Xenomorph. Because while she doesn't have anti-loop and she's a basic M1 killer, she can put down the traps and teleport them and get a guaranteed hit. So and if someone goes down, she's much like Trapper. She can set up a web around the hooked survivor and like punish anybody that gets in the area. Um, because of that, I have to put her in A. I think I have to. I think putting her lower is just it's dishonest. I can't do it just because I don't like her. I don't like playing her. She's probably my second least played character, right behind Artist. Doctor. Doctor's pretty good. I'm gonna put Doctor actually like right behind Clown, I think. Right there. He's perfect. I think Clown's better, but Doctor's in a good spot. Doctor's like the king of information. Like you just shock everybody, everybody's screaming, and you know where everybody's at all times. His looping power is pretty good. He can stop loops. It does have a slight delay, so always keep that in mind. So what survivors like to do is they'll pre-drop the pallet and they'll sit on top of the pallet, and the moment you shock them, they know the exact timing and they'll vault over the pallet. And then, so like the way to counter that though, depending on how big the loop is, if it's a smaller loop, you shock and then you immediately like M1 or like go towards the spot that they're gonna vault to. You don't go to the spot that you're trying to block them in. You go to the spot they're gonna vault to, and then they're stuck there, and then you get a free hit every time. So he has a lot of potential for mind games. You always have to be aware of survivors, how good they are, what they're doing. Some will do what I just said, some won't. It really just depends. Yeah, so decent anti-loop, good map control and awareness, but still just a basic M1 killer. Doesn't have any powers to hit anybody over windows or anything like that, so he's just standard M1 killer. He's fun to play. Huntress is going to be right there above Wesker, I think. Huntress, super strong with the buffs, 7 hatchets. This actually is too much in my opinion. I think it should go back to 5. 7 is just too many. You don't really have to reload as much. Super strong, punishing loops. She can, hit you hatches over the windows. She can hit hatches over the pallets. She's super strong. She's great. She is really slow though and has no map pressure, so I mean that just makes up for it. Because if she did, she'd be like up in S. Bubba for me is B. I would put him like, I think he's like right here. Super strong when it comes down to shutting down loops. He almost always runs Bamboozle. I like running Bamboozle and Dark Arrogance. It's fantastic, and I catch survivors so mumuch with that. His lethality is super strong. He one-shots people. You run the add-on where you get them broken too, and they can't heal afterwards. Oh, it's so gross. Yeah, I like playing Bubba. He's pretty strong, but he's still just a basic killer that can easily be looped. But he's good at getting rid of resources too, so that's always a good thing about him too. That's just my thoughts on the killers. I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Tell me. Tell me how I did. Tell me how biased I am. I don't care. I like talking about Dead by Daylight. It's one of my favorite games. And yeah, this is my takes on it. So yeah, hope you enjoy. Talk to you later.